Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, Composite Matting and Why It's the Best Choice for Your Project. My name is Marissa Davis. I'm Marketing and Communications Manager here at New Park, and I'll be facilitating today. The host of today's webinar, New Park Mats and Integrated Services, provides temporary access roads and worksite pads to facilitate work in challenging terrains. Leveraging our 25 years of experience, we offer a comprehensive suite of innovative access products and services that support various industries in achieving their project goals in a safe and sustainable manner. To learn more about our products and services, visit www.newparkmats.com. All right, now let me introduce you to our presenter today. Adam Marcel is our Technical Service Manager here at New Park. He's been here for 5 years now and works out of our Karen Crow, Louisiana facility. Adam has earned both a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering as well as a Master's of Business Administration, both from Louisiana State University. Adam has over 10 years of experience in the oil and gas industry, and he is our go-to subject matter expert for all things Durabase. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar today. So at any point during the presentation, if you think of a question that you have that you would like to ask Adam, if you will just go ahead and submit it right there in the Q&A functionality of Teams. And then after Adam is done presenting, he would be happy to answer them. So again, thank you for joining us. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Adam.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, especially to you, Kyle, over in Indonesia. Appreciate you joining in the wee hours of your morning. So thanks for joining our first webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about composite mats, specifically highlighting the Durabase Advanced Composite Matting System and why it's the best choice for your project. So working in industrial sectors, whether you're tied to oil and gas or pipeline, or maybe utilities, including the transmission and distribution or general construction industries, we all experience challenging projects and lots of high operational expenditures. And the last thing we'd want to happen is something catastrophic, like this second picture here depicted of a excavator tipping over. So when working with heavy equipment, a failure of the native ground can occur at any moment. And if we're unprepared, it can cause lost time incidences, high unplanned cost, or even worse, a safety accident. Taking the time to evaluate your project from start to finish to ensure your equipment and your people are protected with a strong foundation on the worksite can alleviate lots of this downtime. That's why planning to include composite matting on your project can help protect your people, protect your timeline, protect your assets that are on location, all while at the same time protecting the environment. So I'd first like to start off with breaking down what is a composite mat. So we can simply look at the definitions of each word that'll describe the product. So we'll first start with composite. A composite is made up of various parts or elements that'll be merged together to create material properties unlike the individual elements. So in this case, we're taking various blends of polyethylenes with impact-resistant material and specialty additives to compose a robust material that is strong in mechanical properties. Then we look at the word matting. Matting is typically a floor covering, and it's used under an item to support and protect that primary ground. Matting is also used as a base structure or a foundation for something larger to be erected on top of it. So when we put these two words together, we're creating a product that is suitable for various industrial settings, and we come out with the heavy-duty composite mat. This heavy-duty composite mat is specifically a blend of plastics molded into a structural arrangement for a safe and rigid support for working personnel and heavy equipment on job sites. So now that we know what a heavy duty composite mat is, how exactly does it work? I like to give the analogy that a matting system works in the same manner that a snowshoe works. When there's a lot of fresh snow on the ground, an average person tries to walk on top of that snow, they'll sink, like depicted in this picture on the left. This is because their weight exceeds the bearing capacity that that snow can handle. However, if you take that same person's weight and you spread it over a larger area, then there's a reduction in pressure that that snow can handle. So this is exactly what a snowshoe does. Before, the snow couldn't handle the pressure from that person's foot or boots, so he sank. Now, with the snowshoe on, that person's pressure is reduced and the snow can now support his weight and they're able to walk on top of the snow. So this analogy is exactly how a composite mat works, except the composite mat is going to have lots of higher weights and large equipment on top of it. Tires, for example, in wheeled vehicles can be very damaging to soft soils, as depicted in the picture on the right. They create ruts and will sink into the ground, causing uneven terrain and pretty much a muddy mess. This can be alleviated by using heavy-duty composite mats. So the mats will take the load from the tires and effectively spread them over a larger area within the mat. Therefore, the ground is only seeing a small portion of that pressure associated with that heavy vehicle. This will preserve the native soil and allow the vehicle to access areas that they would have normally not been able to get to. Composite matting does this with all types of vehicles and different pieces of equipment as well. Given the versatility of composite matting, it can be used in many different industries and for many different types of operations. Anywhere that needs to protect the ground or create a vehicle path, composite matting can be used. So not only is it safe for heavy equipment, but workers can easily work on top of it as well. The Dura-Base matting system creates a continuous work site that minimizes hazards from workers and helps to protect the environment. So as you can see in most of these pictures, the matting is being used in lots of different industries, including the transmission distribution in the top left, the general construction in the top right, the oil and gas with a heavy drilling rig on top of the matting system in the bottom left, and then the pipeline industry on the bottom right. All with the same goal of protecting the ground and creating a surface that can be traveled on, maintaining a safe and stable foundation for workers and operations. That's what the Dura-Base mat is used for, and this is where it can be used. Before a unique and sustainable matting solution came about, ground stabilization went through various different stages in the past. The first attempts at creating a stable ground were to use compacted fill material, whether this included bringing in new dirt to the work site, gravel, or rocks, and attempting to add more material in areas where the soil was weak, compacting it down, and then traveling on top of it. Then it was noticed that trees had good flexural properties and could support vehicles when they laid them on the ground as well. So industries started laying various pieces of logs, lumbers on this soft ground condition so that vehicles and equipment could travel throughout these back roads. Then finally, there was a little bit of innovation that came along and people started to create wood mats. So these are constructed out of many different species of trees, and they have various shapes, sizes, and some of them are bolted or nailed together, and some of them are entrapped by steel. The disadvantages of using wood is that it has varying properties. It can easily be broken over time, and it has exposed metal that can harm personnel or equipment working on top of it. So finally, building upon all these previous solutions, the Dur-Base mat was born. The Dur-Base mat was the first composite mat in the industry, and it's the largest plastic composite product on the market. It was purposefully designed to create a dual-sided system for roadways and work sites. The strength of the product is a combination of its internal design structure and its material properties, as well as its molding process. So this ground stabilization system is the longest lasting and most innovative matting solution today. There are many technical benefits to utilizing heavy-duty composite matting, and we'll highlight 3 of them today here. The first one is its remarkable compressive strength. The mat can support over 600 psi or pounds per square inch in pure compressive loading before it permanently deforms. So today's vehicles and equipment come nowhere close to reaching this limit. Think about the car that you drive on a roadway to get to work. Typically, these cars average anywhere between 30 and 50 psi being exerted from the tires. You're driving next to an 18-wheeler on the highway. That 18-wheeler is exerting around 100 psi for each of its tires. Then you go into an industrial setting where there's large excavators or crawler cranes, and typically these pressures are below 10 psi when those vehicles are traveling. This is because they already have large tracks that the weight is being supported on. So here's an example in the bottom left picture of a 1,500-ton vessel that is being supported by a self-propelled modular transporter. So 1,500 tons, putting that into perspective, that's over 3 million pounds or 1.4 million kilograms. So this is a heavy piece of equipment. But it's being supported by large tires that are only exerting about 145 psi each. So we have never come across a vehicle or a piece of equipment that exceeds this 600 psi rating to crush a composite mat. The next benefit to composite matting is its ability to contour to the natural ground when it's laid. When a composite mat is laid, its flexibility allows it to take the shape of subtle terrain changes. So this helps create a smooth transition across rolling hills or ground fluctuations or previously impacted areas on the ground. Even with the mat's ability to be flexible, it maintains plenty of rigidity to support high loads when it is bending. And the last and one of the most important aspects of the composite mat is its pin connection points. So the Dur-Base mat has the ability to connect two adjacent mats with up to 8 connection points per mat. The connecting multiple mats together creates a system. So this system gives the mats the ability to transfer loads over those connection points, thus allowing the pressures from the applied loads to be reduced even more. Just like in the snowshoe example earlier, these connection points are increasing the size of the snowshoe. The Dur-Base locking pin is the primary reason these connection points are robust. Weighing in at over 2 pounds, the locking pins have a stainless steel rotor and a thermoplastic polyurethane body, creating a connection point that cannot be broken. So pinning your mats together creates the system and is the most technical benefit of composite mats. We'll now jump into safety. Safety is the highest priority for Newpark's products and services. And in many toolbox talks or job safety analysis, we often use the phrase, use the right tool for the job. It can easily be a safety hazard if we were taking a screwdriver or a wrench and trying to beat a nail into a wooden post. We're not using the right tool. It can be even worse if we're on a job site location and use the excavator that's nearby to grab a pallet full of materials and try to load it into an enclosed 18-wheeler. It might be able to get the job done, but not with ease. And disasters are waiting to happen when you don't use the right tool for the job. So the same is useful when it comes to matting. The composite mat was specifically designed and manufactured for the purposes of creating roadways and work sites in subpar environmental conditions. So if you're using a product that, for its intended purposes, you'll likely be safer, more efficient, and more effective. Not only is it safe to use the right tool for the job, but it also helps when safety features are added to the product's design, right? The Durabase mat has a raised tread pattern on both sides of the mat, along with the anti-skid surface layer that helps vehicles and personnel gain grip whenever they're traversing across the mat. Just as I said before, when you connect mats into a system, you're creating a smooth, continuous, and even work surface. There's no protruding nails, no screws, or other metal objects that can cause harm to you or your equipment when you're using composite matting. So it just makes sense that composite matting is going to lower your TRIR and your chances of injury or property damage. Time means money, right? So when you waste time on products that are not fit for purpose, or they're falling apart during the project, and you can't successfully rely on these products, then you're wasting your money or your company's money as well. So the Durabase mat was engineered for an all-purpose weather conditions through computer simulated modeling and field testing. And it was followed up by a manufacturing process that has quality standards that meet the International Organization for Standards, or the ISO 9001-2015 quality management standards. So this means that every mat produced has a dependable and traceable production history, ensuring that the mat will meet the specs set forth by its overall design. Not only does the quality standards apply to the end product, but raw materials and composite blends are continuously tested to ensure uniformity and performance. So various other checkpoints throughout the process and after the product is produced also confirm a reliable field product. So we measure the mat, we crush the mat, we bend the mat, and we even destroy the mat to collect lots of mechanical data to ensure its performance, ensuring that it's not going to fail when it's applied in the right applicational settings. So knowing this type of consistency goes into the production of the Durabase mats can help our customers rapidly deploy the matting system for projects that need to conserve time. Now, whether you purchase or rent or just have capital assets on a project, it's nice to know that composite matting is there to protect your investment. As stated before with previous safety features, composite matting can alleviate costly accidents or incidences with personnel and equipment when you compare it to the wood alternative. They also last an average of 5 times longer than wood mat substitutes. This means your matting investment can be repeatedly used on many jobs over decades long. You'll also reap the advantages of reducing your job site preparation time and cost, as well as your post-job restoration operations because of the performance of the Durabase mat. When trucking mats to and from jobs, you can maximize the amount of matted surface areas per truckload, estimating around 4,200 square feet of surface area on a single truck. This is the largest ground stabilization coverage per truckload on the market today. On top of all these benefits, the mat material itself is 100% recyclable at its end of life. Therefore, the composite mat is a gift that keeps on giving once it's ended its life. Lastly, the composite mat is here to protect the environment in which we live in as well. The performance of the mat works in conjunction with Mother Nature to reduce its impacts and minimize its disturbance to those native soils. Because of its engineered design and manufacturing process, the mat is a sealed product that features materials that can easily be washed. Therefore, contaminants or invasive species cannot be absorbed into the mat, and they can properly be disposed of or left on the job site to prevent site-to-site pollution. Carbon exposure is also reduced with long-lasting composite mats. 0 trees are destroyed for its production, and roughly 70% less water is consumed from its closed loop process when compared to wood mat production. Because of its lightweight and transportation advantages compared to the other alternatives, less trucks are on the road. Therefore, we're reducing the CO2 emissions and the miles driven by our logistical partners. So composite matting leaves a sustainable and positive impact to all local communities that we work in. So in conclusion, I'll wrap it up with, if your project can benefit from protecting your personnel or your assets, if it needs versatility, portability, and modular ground stabilization, if you want to protect your timeline, minimize environmental impacts and restoration operations, have sustainable solutions, and save cost, then it's likely that composite mat or the DUR-based matting system is the best solution for you. Thank you all again for attending and listening to our first webinar on why composite matting is the best choice for your project. Feel free to reach out to me via email or phone call for any technical support that you may need with your project. And as a reminder, like Marissa said, there's a button on the top of your screen labeled Q&A that you can submit any questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. I'll now turn it over back to you, Marissa.
Thank you. So it looks like we just have one question so far. So if anyone has any questions, hurry up and get in there and ask them via the question function. It says, you mentioned that composite mats are 100% recyclable. Do y'all currently recycle your mats? And if so, do they have the same quality?
Thank you, Marissa. Yes, this is a great question. And yes, we do currently have a recycling program, both internally and with strategic partners, where we are recycling end-of-life DUR-based mats. So at the end of life, we have a process of cleaning these mats, regrinding them back into their small form, and introducing them back into our process. Each batch of recycled material is inspected and tested for its performance. Then we can blend that material to create the performance that we need for the mat. So yes, the short answer is we do recycle. We inspect batch from batch of recycled material, and we ensure that we're putting a positive material back into the mat that's going to meet our specifications for the end product.
And that's all the time we have for today. We hope you enjoyed the presentation. If you think of any questions that you have after this, you can go ahead and just reach out to Adam directly. His contact information is right there on the slide. And I will be sending out a copy of today's presentation as well as a link to the recording via email. So be on the lookout for that. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.